Hey, welcome to my channel. I probably saw the first video. What was that about? Just me expressing myself. It's one of my favorite songs. I love singing it since it came out back in the early 2000s. Basically expresses how, you know, interconnected everybody and everything can actually be, you know, without actually describing it. That's the best part. I love that because you can feel it in the words when you're singing the song. But moving on. I basically came on to talk about a little bit about my channel. You can probably hear the construction in the background. Sorry. I came to talk about a little bit about my channel, which I hope to have as like a smaller like spiritual channel. I don't hope to gain anything from this. Mostly what I'm looking forward to is like to like spread what I've understood based on what happened. For those who didn't know, I kind of disappeared for a few days and I didn't tell anybody. And so I just dropped everything and did it. But that actually goes back a little bit, about 2 years ago. So I'll get started with it real quick. So I was staying in a house with 4 other people. Same bedroom, one of the people I had just broken up with. And happened to get into another relationship. It was like more of a temporary relationship. It was agreed upon. So basically what happened was the person I was with was showing me lots of love. And there was love that I had never gotten in the previous relationships. And when I say that, I mean, it was like, I don't want to say love then. You know what? Let me think about that. I'd say more just the genuineness of the situation. There we go. That was it. And the first thing that was promoted in the situation was that I have to give this to myself too. I have to feel this for myself before I'm allowed to even say, even like fully commit to even what our relationship was at that time. And that's what started the growth. So I started more self-care, more self-love. I moved out, moved into the apartment, and I started meditating more often. And as I started doing that, I hit a wall. And the wall was that I was using all the tools that I was being taught over the years to how to cope with the symptoms of like having depression and all those things. I should mention that, yes, I do have a few diagnoses, depression, anxiety, PTSD. No, those are none of the reasons that I actually did what I did, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So, my range of understanding is another thing I have to put out so people can understand why I do the things I do the way that I do them, and I don't usually conform to most acts that other people would consider normal. I don't perceive things the way that other people do in a straight line fashion. My understanding of things is more like you take a giant like poster, put it up on a wall, and then put different timelines on there, and you can jump between those anytime you want. That's my perception. I do that all the time with every situation. That's why I don't really see bad in situations. There's no point in seeing bad in a situation if you can just look at the other one or look at the situation from a different angle. You know. Also on top of that, I have a finally. Well, I like to say I love like honoring my integrity. The person that I am is the person that I am. So like you can look me up in the past, you see my history. Maybe I got some bad things in there, but outside of that, I've been consistent with how I feel, how I handle things, and I'm proud of that. And that was something I really did want to build over the years. The last bit was the resiliency. As far as that, I didn't really let things get to me because I knew that there was another side every single time. There was no reason to react in the situations where things were bad or annoying or upsetting. No. Yes, there were times I did because I could be volatile, and it was mostly because of the lack of understanding that went into conversations that took place. Maybe it was sometimes from my end, I will say that. That was one thing I discovered for myself, but it was mostly from others. Because how do you explain the details that I just explained about my own perception? Are you going to ask me about that? Is most people going to? No. I don't mind anymore. But the point is that that's something that actively does not take place. And so I, living in the apartment, lived there for about almost 2 years. And yeah, nobody checks up on me, hardly. They'll call every once in a while. And that's it. That's all I get. I reach out. Too busy, doing something, whatever. Cool. So what I decided to do was I decided to start looking inward, but with the premise that I would actually eliminate the need for using my ego and my pride. And I would also struggle to, strive to unlearn all the things I had learned about how you're supposed to like self-heal and all these things. For that, I learned from like therapists and stuff like that. It was mostly because I'm looking around and I don't see this working that well for a lot of people. Okay, so what else could work? Me. So I started looking inward, and because I didn't go in there with my ego or my pride, it was a long and painful process. But there were lots of discoveries that I made about myself when I wasn't lying to myself. And it wasn't necessarily that I was outward trying to lie to myself. It was that the things that I kept around me that distracted me all the time, the people that I kept around me that distracted me all the time, that's what convinced me to lie to myself and convinced me that lie was my lie. So I moved past all that, clear all that up, come up to a few weeks before my birthday. So that would have been like 3 weeks ago. And I figured out what was holding me back as far as like completing the final step of healing my trauma. And it was realizing not only where the trauma came from, but what it was more of an accumulation. And the problem with it was, and this is the parts I hadn't told yet, was that a lot of the events that had taken place over the years that I've been on the planet, I'm 43 by the way, had basically been more targeted. And so it was because of the understanding. It was because of the misunderstanding. It's because of the way that I saw the world. A lot of people didn't like it. Hey, you may not believe this. That's fine. But at some point, I do plan on telling my own personal story. So, those who can take from it. But it's not my story to prove to anyone. So, you take it. You can take what you want from this, learn from it, throw it away. I don't care. I do not care. So, once I started doing that, with that introspection as well, I started going a lot deeper. I realized more and more about like how much of that wasn't mine, and I was holding on to this stuff. And once again, being an accumulation, it was a lot to let go, all at once too, and it felt so much lighter. Now, not gonna be the same for everybody. Don't expect it to be. Point is, you can find your own way. That is it. That is it. You can find your own way. You don't have to look in books or anything like that. It did take me years of study to get to this point. That's the unique part about it for me. I didn't just like come up with this idea or anything like that. I love learning things. I love reading. I love studying. I will study whatever I can. Physics, health, biology. I mean, heck, I'm even sitting out in the forest. So, nothing's really off limits to me because I don't see the point in putting limitations around one subject when they all seem to have a way of interconnecting. Makes sense. And if you find that connection between all of them, then you can actually better understand where something's wrong, where it could possibly be better, all those details. Makes sense. A lot of people I encounter cannot understand that, and usually diligently don't want to. That's fine. Once again, each their own. I just keep moving. But what was I getting at? Well, you know what? I'll leave this off on that note. I'll continue the rest in the story I may eventually tell. Otherwise, what I do plan on doing is possibly working on something like divination. And then, I'll probably just tell parts of my story at the time, at those times too. I'll work on something else, like a more secondary. But I feel like the story part is kind of important to understand everything I just said. Because I gave you the short part of it, the very, very short part of it. There's more to it. But the point is, out of that story too, is that look what I went through. Look how I handled the situation. Because I didn't get any bad, I didn't get any fights or anything like that. I didn't create any drama or anything like that. I just basically kind of stepped back when a lot of things went down. Sometimes I was involved, but mostly, because I was able to start seeing that the situations I was in Like, not, of course they're not good, but the point is that like they weren't always orchestrated by me, if that makes any sense. So I really had to step back. And out of this story, I would ask that, like, if it ever came to a point where people or events or anything like that would come out, leave it alone. I don't care about any of that. The point that I'm trying to get at is just tell my story. That's it. I want to see other people get to the point that I got to. Till next time. Bye.